William rolled over in bed and looked at the clock on his nightstand. It was 6:15 in the morning, and Kate was already up. He could hear her moving around in the kitchen, making coffee and getting ready for work. This had become their routine. Over the past few months, she would wake up early and leave for the hospital before he even got out of bed. He remembered when they first got married 3 years ago. Kate would stay in bed with him until the last possible minute. They would talk about their dreams and plans for the future. She would make him laugh with her silly jokes, and he would hold her close until they both had to get up for work. Those mornings felt like a lifetime ago now. William got up and walked to the bathroom. He could see Kate through the open bedroom door, putting on her white nursing uniform. She was always so careful about how she looked for work. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and she had applied just enough makeup to look professional. She was still beautiful to him, even after all these years together. When he came out of the bathroom, Kate was already in the kitchen. She had made coffee for both of them and was eating a piece of toast while standing at the counter. She looked up when she heard his footsteps and gave him a small smile. "Good morning," she said in a voice that was polite but distant. She handed him a cup of coffee in his favorite blue mug, the same mug she had bought him for his birthday 2 years ago, when things between them were still good. "Good morning," William replied, taking the coffee from her hands. Their fingers touched for just a moment, and he felt a small spark of the connection they used to have. But Kate pulled her hand away quickly and went back to eating her toast. They stood in their small kitchen drinking coffee in silence. William wanted to say something to break the tension, but he did not know what to say anymore. Everything he thought of seemed wrong or too dangerous. He was afraid that if he said the wrong thing, it would start another argument. They had been having so many fights lately that they had both learned to be very careful with their words. Kate finished her coffee and put the mug in the sink. She grabbed her purse and keys from the counter and headed toward the front door. William followed her, wanting to say something before she left. "Have a good day at work," he said as she put on her coat. "You too," she replied without really looking at him. She gave him a quick kiss on the cheek, like she always did before leaving. But even that small gesture felt empty and automatic now. After Kate left, William stood in the quiet apartment feeling alone. He looked around at their home and tried to remember when it had started feeling like a prison instead of a place of love and happiness. The walls were still decorated with pictures from their wedding and honeymoon. There were photos of them laughing and holding each other close. In every picture they looked so happy and in love. William picked up one of the photos from their wedding day. Kate looked stunning in her white dress, and he looked proud and excited to be her husband. He could still remember how it felt to dance with her that night, how it felt to know that she was his wife and that they would spend the rest of their lives together. He put the photo back down and got ready for work. His job at the accounting firm was not exciting, but it paid the bills and gave him something to focus on during the day. Lately, he had been staying late at the office more and more often. It was easier than coming home to the uncomfortable silence. Between him and Kate, during his drive to work, William thought about how they had gotten to this point. It had not happened all at once. It was more like a slow leak in a tire. At first, you do not notice anything wrong, but eventually you realize that something important is missing. They had started having small disagreements about money and household chores. Kate thought William was not helping enough around the apartment. William felt like Kate was always criticizing him, and nothing he did was ever good enough. These small fights began to pile up like dirty dishes in the sink. Then Kate started working more overtime shifts at the hospital. She said they needed the extra money, but William wondered if there was another reason. Maybe she was avoiding spending time at home with him. Maybe she was as unhappy as he was, but neither of them knew how to fix it at work. William tried to focus on his spreadsheets and client files, but his mind kept wandering back to Kate. He wondered what she was doing at the hospital. Was she thinking about him too, or was she relieved to be away from their apartment and all the tension that lived there now? His coworker Janet stopped by his desk around lunchtime. She was always friendly and cheerful, and William enjoyed talking to her. She made him laugh in a way that Kate had not done in months. "You look tired today," Janet said, sitting on the edge of his desk. "Everything okay at home?" William wanted to tell her the truth. He wanted to say that his marriage was falling apart and he did not know how to save it. But instead, he just smiled and said everything was fine. Janet looked at him with concerned eyes. She could tell that something was bothering him, but she did not push for more information. That was one of the things William liked about her. She was easy to talk to and never made him feel judged or criticized. After Janet left, William ate his lunch alone at his desk. He thought about calling Kate to see how her day was going, but he decided against it. Their phone conversations had become as strained as their face-to-face interactions. It was better to just wait until they were both home that evening. The rest of the workday passed slowly. William found himself watching the clock and dreading going home. He used to look forward to seeing Kate at the end of each day. Now he felt nervous and anxious about what kind of mood she would be in when he walked through the door. When 5 o'clock finally came, William packed up his things and headed home. During the drive, he tried to think of something interesting too. Tell Kate about his day, something that might spark a real conversation between them. But his job was boring and nothing exciting ever happened at the accounting firm as he pulled into the parking lot of their apartment. Complex William took a deep breath and prepared himself for another evening of careful politeness and uncomfortable silence. When William walked through the apartment door that evening, Kate was already home. She was sitting at their small dining table with papers spread out in front of her. Her nursing uniform was hanging on the back of a chair, and she had changed into comfortable clothes. She looked up when he entered, but her smile seemed forced. "How was your day?" she asked, organizing the papers into neat piles. William could see they were medical journals and work schedules. Kate always brought work home with her now. It gave her something to focus on instead of talking to him. "It was fine," William replied, hanging his jacket in the closet. It's the same answer. He gave every day because it was safe and would not lead to any difficult conversations. He wanted to ask her about her day, but he was afraid of what she might say. Lately, when Kate talked about work, her whole face would light up in a way it never did when she talked to him. William went to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator, looking for something to make for dinner. They used to cook together every evening. Kate would chop vegetables while William prepared the meat, and they would talk about everything and nothing. Now they took turns making meals and ate them while watching television or reading. There were leftovers from yesterday in the refrigerator, along with some vegetables that were starting to look old. William decided to make pasta with whatever he could find. It was simple and would not require much effort or thought. While the water was boiling, William watched Kate from the kitchen. She was completely absorbed in her reading and seemed to have forgotten he was even there. Her phone was sitting next to her on the table, and every few minutes it would buzz with a text message. Each time it buzzed, Kate would pick it up quickly and read the message with a small smile on her face. William felt a strange feeling in his stomach watching her react to those messages. Kate never smiled like that when she got texts from her family or old friends. This smile was different. It was the kind of smile someone gets when they are excited to hear from a particular person. "Dinner is ready," William called from the kitchen, trying to push away his uncomfortable thoughts. Kate gathered up her papers and put her phone in her pocket before joining him at the table. They ate their pasta in the usual silence, broken only by comments about the weather or something they had seen on the news. William kept thinking about Kate's phone and the way she had smiled when it buzzed. He wanted to ask her about it, but he did not know how to bring it up without sounding suspicious or jealous. After dinner, Kate offered to do the dishes while William went to watch television. In the living room, it had become their evening routine. They would spend a few hours in the same apartment doing separate activities until it was time for bed. William tried to focus on the news, but his mind kept wandering back to Kate and her mysterious text messages. He could hear her moving around, in the kitchen washing dishes and putting things away. Her phone must have buzzed again because he heard her laugh softly. It was a genuine happy laugh that he had not heard in their apartment for months. When Kate finished in the kitchen, she joined William on the couch, but sat at the opposite end, leaving plenty of space between them. She had brought her phone with her and kept it in her lap where she could see the screen. William pretended to watch television, but he was really watching Kate from the corner of his eye. Her phone buzzed again, and Kate picked it up immediately. William saw her type a quick response and then put the phone back down. But within minutes it buzzed again, and she picked it up with that same excited smile. "Who keeps texting you, William?" asked, trying to sound casual and not accusatory. Kate looked up from her phone with a slightly guilty expression. "Oh, just Sarah from work," she said quickly. "We are trying to figure out the schedule for next week." William nodded, but something about her answer did not feel right. Kate had worked with Sarah for 2 years, and they had never texted each other this much before. And Kate had never smiled like that when talking about work schedules. The rest of the evening passed slowly with both of them, pretending to watch television while being lost in their own thoughts. William kept glancing at Kate and her phone while she seemed to be waiting for the next message to arrive. When it was time for bed, they went through their usual routine of brushing teeth and getting ready for sleep. Kate was in the bathroom longer than usual, and William could hear her talking quietly. At first he thought she might be on the phone, but when he listened more carefully, he realized she was just talking to herself in the mirror. They got into bed on their respective sides with plenty of space between them. Kate turned off her bedside lamp and said goodnight in the same polite tone she used with strangers. William lay in the dark, listening to her breathing and thinking about all the changes in their relationship. He remembered when they first moved into this apartment. They would stay up late talking about their hopes and dreams. Kate would curl up next to him, and they would plan their future together. She would talk about having children someday and maybe buying a house with a big backyard. William would describe the trips they would take to Europe and all the places he wanted to show her. Now they lay in the same bed like two strangers who happened to be sharing a room. William wanted to reach out and touch Kate's hand or ask her what was wrong between them, but he was afraid of her answer. Was afraid she would tell him something he was not ready to hear. Kate's phone buzzed one more time on her nightstand. In the dark, William saw her reach for it and read the message. Even in the dim light from the phone screen, he could see her smile. She typed a quick response and then put the phone face down on the nightstand. William closed his eyes and tried to sleep, but his mind was racing with questions and doubts. Something was definitely changing with Kate, and he was not sure he wanted to know what it was. Part of him wanted to confront her and demand answers, but another part of him was terrified of what those answers might be, as he finally drifted off to sleep. William wondered how much longer they could continue living like this. How much longer could they pretend that everything was normal when it was clear that something important was missing from their marriage? Tomorrow would bring another day of careful conversations and polite distance. But William had a feeling that their careful routine was about to be disrupted in a way that would change everything. The next few weeks passed in a blur of the same routine, but William noticed that Kate was becoming more distant with each passing day. She would come home from work and immediately disappear into their bedroom with her phone. She would stay in there for hours, claiming she was studying medical journals or talking to her sister. But William could hear her laughing and talking in a way that sounded nothing like a conversation with family. William tried to focus on his own life and not think about what Kate was doing behind their closed bedroom door. He started staying later at work and accepting more projects from his boss. The accounting firm was always busy, and there was plenty of work to keep his mind occupied during the day. But when he came home in the evenings, the apartment felt more empty and cold than ever before. One Saturday morning, William woke up to find Kate already dressed and putting on her shoes by the front door. She was wearing her favorite blue dress and had taken extra time with her hair and makeup. She looked beautiful, but there was something different about the way she was dressed. It was not the casual weekend clothes she usually wore when they spent Saturdays together. "Where are you going, William?" asked, sitting up in bed and looking at her with confusion. Kate paused for a moment and then said she was meeting some friends from work for lunch. They wanted to discuss some changes happening at the hospital and thought it would be better to talk somewhere private. She grabbed her purse and keys and headed toward the door. "What time will you be back?" William called after her, but Kate was already walking out the door. She called back that she was not sure and would text him later. Then she was gone, and William was left alone in their apartment, wondering why his wife needed to dress up so nicely for a work meeting on Saturday. William spent the morning cleaning the apartment and doing laundry. These were chores that Kate usually took care of, but she had been so busy lately that many things around the house were being neglected. As he was making their bed, he noticed that Kate's phone charger was still plugged in on her side of the nightstand. She must have forgotten it in her hurry to leave. Around noon, William's phone buzzed with a text message from Kate. She said the meeting was going longer than expected and she might not be home until evening. She told him not to wait for her for dinner, and that she would eat something while she was out. The message felt strange to William. Kate had never spent an entire day away from home for work before. William decided to go for a walk to clear his head and get some fresh air. He walked through their neighborhood and ended up at the small park where he and Kate used to go when they first moved in together. They would bring a picnic lunch and spend hours talking and laughing under the big oak tree. That felt like a different lifetime now. While William was sitting on their old picnic bench, his phone rang. It was his sister, calling to check in and see how he and Kate were doing. William found himself struggling to answer her questions. How could he explain that his marriage was falling apart, but he did not really understand why or how to fix it? His sister could tell something was wrong in William's voice. She asked if everything was okay between him and Kate. William wanted to tell her the truth, but he was not ready to admit out loud that his marriage might be ending. Instead, he said they were both just busy with work and stressed about money like most young couples. After talking to his sister, William felt even more alone and confused. He walked home slowly, dreading another evening by himself in their quiet apartment. When he got back, Kate still was not home and had not sent any more text messages. William made himself dinner and ate it while watching television, but he could not concentrate on anything. As the evening went on, William became more and more worried about Kate. It was almost 9 o'clock, and she still had not come home or called to let him know where she was. This was very unusual behavior for Kate, who was always considerate about letting William know her plans. Finally, around 9:30, William heard Kate's key in the front door. She came in looking slightly out of breath, and her hair was a little messy. Her makeup was mostly gone, and she had a strange expression on her face that William could not read. "How was your meeting?" William asked, trying to sound casual but feeling suspicious about where Kate had really been all day. Kate looked at him for a moment before answering. "It was fine," she said, but her voice sounded different. It was the voice she used when she was not telling the complete truth. "The meeting ran very late, and then we went to get some coffee to continue our discussion." William nodded, but he noticed that Kate would not look him in the eyes while she was talking. She seemed nervous and kept fidgeting with her purse strap. Something about her story did not add up, but William did not know how to question her without starting an argument. Kate said she was tired and wanted to take a shower and go to bed early. She kissed William on the forehead in the same automatic way she always did and disappeared into their bedroom. William heard the shower running and tried to convince himself that he was imagining things. Maybe Kate really had been at a work meeting all day. Maybe he was letting his own insecurities make him suspicious of innocent behavior. But as William got ready for bed himself, he could not shake the feeling that something important had changed. Kate seemed different when she came home. There was something in her eyes that he had never seen before. It was not guilt exactly, but it was something close to it. Like she was keeping a secret that was both exciting and dangerous. When Kate came out of the bathroom, she was wearing her pajamas, and her hair was wet from the shower. She got into bed without saying much and turned off her lamp quickly. Usually Kate would read for a while before going to sleep, but tonight she seemed eager to end the day as soon as possible. William lay in the dark listening to Kate's breathing and thinking about all the small changes he had noticed in her behavior over the past few weeks. The mysterious text messages, the extra time spent getting ready for work, the long hours away from home, and now this strange day-long meeting that did not quite make sense. He wanted to ask Kate directly what was happening, but he was afraid of what she might tell him. Part of him still hoped that he was wrong, and that there was an innocent explanation for everything. But deep down, William was beginning to suspect that his wife was hiding something big from him, something that would change their marriage forever if he ever found out what it was. Over the next 2 weeks, Kate's behavior became even more strange and secretive. She started working extra shifts almost every day and would come home later and later each evening. When William asked her about all the overtime, Kate would say the hospital was short-staffed and they needed her help. But something in her voice made William think there was more to the story. Kate also started paying much more attention to her appearance than she had in months. She would spend extra time in the bathroom each morning doing her hair and makeup. She bought new clothes and would try on different outfits before deciding what to wear to work. William had not seen Kate put this much effort into how she looked. Since they were first dating, one evening William came home from work and found Kate getting ready to leave again. She was wearing a new black dress that he had never seen before, and she looked stunning. Her hair was styled in loose curls, and she was wearing the perfume he had bought her for Christmas, but that she rarely used anymore. "Where are you going tonight?" William asked, trying to keep his voice calm and not sound accusatory. Kate looked at him in the mirror while she was putting on earrings. "Oh, just another work thing," she said casually. "Some of the nurses are getting together to discuss new procedures we need to learn. It might go pretty late, so do not wait up for me." William nodded, but felt that familiar knot in his stomach. Kate had never dressed up like this for work events before. She had been having a lot of these mysterious work meetings lately. Too many to be believable. After Kate left, William sat in their apartment, feeling more alone than ever. He tried to watch television, but could not focus on anything. His mind kept racing with questions about where Kate really was and what she was doing. He thought about calling her, but decided against it. He did not want to seem like he was checking up on her, even though that was exactly what he wanted to do. Around 10 o'clock, William's phone buzzed with a text from Kate. She said the meeting was running late and she would probably be home after midnight. She told him to go to bed without her and that she would be quiet when she came in. William stared at the message for a long time, trying to decide if he believed it. William tried to go to sleep, but found himself lying awake listening for the sound of Kate's key in the door. He must have finally dozed off, because the next thing he knew, it was morning and Kate was already up and getting ready for work. She was moving around the apartment quietly, trying not to wake him, but William had been a light sleeper lately. "When did you get home last night?" William asked, as Kate was making coffee in the kitchen. Kate paused for a moment before answering. "Oh, it was really late," she said, without looking at him. "It's probably around 1 in the morning. The meeting went much longer than we expected." William studied Kate's face, looking for any sign that she was lying, but she kept her eyes focused on making coffee and getting ready for work. She seemed tired and distracted, like she had not slept well. William wondered if she had really been at a work meeting or if she had been somewhere else entirely. During his lunch break at work, William found himself thinking more and more about Kate's strange behavior. He decided to call the hospital where she worked to see if he could find out more about these mysterious meetings she had been attending. He was not sure what he would say, but he felt like he needed to do something. William called the main number for the hospital and asked to speak to someone in the nursing department. When a woman answered, he said he was Kate's husband and was trying to reach her about a family emergency. The woman on the phone said she would check to see if Kate was working that day. After a few minutes, the woman came back on the line and told William that Kate was not scheduled to work that day. Koana, Koana, Kola, Kawandade, Kawandade, Kawandadade, Kawanda, Kawandadade, 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 or Kawandadade, Kawandadade, Rhonda, Rana, I'll reward, God, Rewaldai Dadalad. Well, oven, well, we one, I, we want a I want, why, I'm on why, sidewalk, I'm right, I'm right, I don't, why, I've kind the way, right, I wear, I died, draw, died, Fact, she said Kate had requested several days off this week for personal reasons. William felt his heart start to race. Kate had told him she was working extra shifts, but according to the hospital, she was not even supposed to be there. William thanked the woman and hung up the phone, feeling sick to his stomach. Kate had been lying to him about working extra shifts. If she was not at the hospital during all those long hours away from home, then where was she and what was she doing that evening? William waited for Kate to come home so he could confront her about what he had learned. But Kate did not come home at her usual time. 6 o'clock came and went, with no sign of her. Then 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock. William tried calling her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. Finally, around 9 o'clock, Kate walked through the door looking flustered and out of breath. Her hair was messy, and her clothes looked wrinkled like she had been somewhere she should not have been. When she saw William sitting on the couch waiting for her, she stopped in her tracks. "Where have you been?" William asked, in a voice that was much calmer than he felt inside. Kate set down her purse and looked at him with an expression he could not read. "I told you I was working late," she said, but her voice sounded uncertain. William stood up and walked toward her. "I called the hospital today, Kate," he said quietly. "They told me you were not even scheduled to work this week. They said you had requested time off for personal reasons." Kate's face went pale, and she looked like she had been caught doing something wrong. For a moment she did not say anything and just stared at William with wide eyes. Then she started to speak, but stopped herself as if she was not sure what to say. "I can explain," Kate finally said, but her voice was shaking. "It is not what you think. William, I have been meaning to talk to you about something, but I did not know how to bring it up." William felt his heart pounding in his chest. He had been dreading this moment for weeks, but now that it was here, he felt almost relieved. At least now they could stop pretending that everything was normal between them. "What do you need to tell me?" William asked, even though he was not sure. He wanted to hear the answer. Kate looked at him with tears starting to form in her eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, but then closed it again, as if the words were too difficult to say out loud. William waited for her to find her voice, knowing that whatever she said next would change everything between them forever. Kate took a deep breath and wiped the tears from her eyes. She walked over to the couch and sat down heavily, as if all the energy had drained out of her body. William remained standing, looking down at his wife and waiting for her to explain where she had been spending all those hours away from home. "William, I have been going to counseling," Kate said in a voice so quiet he could barely hear her. "I have been seeing a therapist for the past month, trying to figure out what is wrong with our marriage and what is wrong with me." William felt confused and surprised. This was not what he had expected her to say. He had been preparing himself. To hear that Kate was having an affair, or that she wanted a divorce? The idea that she had been going to therapy had never crossed his mind. "Why did you not tell me?" William asked, sitting down on the couch next to her, but leaving some space between them. "Why did you lie about working extra shifts instead of just telling me you were getting help?" Kate looked at him with sad eyes that were full of pain and regret. "Because I was ashamed," she said. "I was ashamed that I could not fix our problems on my own. I was ashamed that I had been feeling so unhappy and distant from you, and I did not know why." Kate explained that she had been struggling with feelings of depression and anxiety for months. She said she would wake up every morning feeling empty and disconnected from her own life. Even though she loved William and wanted their marriage to work, she felt like she was watching their relationship fall apart and could not do anything to stop it. "The therapist has been helping me understand that I have been dealing with some mental health issues," Kate continued. She said that depression can make you feel disconnected from the people you love most. It can make everything feel gray and meaningless, even when there's nothing really wrong with your life. William listened to Kate talk and felt a mixture of relief and guilt washing over him. He was relieved that she was not having an affair, but he felt guilty that he had not noticed how much his wife had been struggling. He had been so focused on his own feelings of loneliness and rejection that he had not considered that Kate might be going through something difficult to Kate told William about the sessions with her therapist and how they had been working together to understand why she had been feeling so disconnected from their marriage. The therapist had explained that sometimes depression can make a person withdraw from relationships even when they desperately want to feel close to their partner. "All those text messages," William said, suddenly understanding. "Were they from your therapist?" Kate nodded and gave him a small smile. "Dr. Peterson encourages her patients to stay in touch between sessions," she said. "She sends me reminders about exercises we talked about and checks in to see how I am feeling. I know it probably looks suspicious, but I was not ready to tell you what was really going on." William felt like an enormous weight had been lifted off his shoulders. For weeks, he had been imagining the worst possible scenarios about what Kate was hiding from him. The reality was still painful, but it was something they could work through together. They both wanted to try. "Why did you not trust me enough to tell me you were struggling?" William asked, taking Kate's hand in his. "I would have supported you, Kate. I would have gone to therapy with you if you had asked me to." Kate squeezed his hand, and more tears started flowing down her cheeks. "I know you would have helped me," she said. "But I felt like such a failure as a wife. Here we are supposed to be happy newlyweds, and instead I was feeling miserable and empty all the time. I thought if I could fix myself first, then maybe I could fix our marriage too." William moved closer to Kate on the couch and put his arm around her shoulders. She leaned into him, and for the first time in months they sat together in comfortable closeness instead of careful distance. William realized how much he had missed simply holding his wife and feeling connected to her. Kate told William about some of the things she had learned in therapy about communication and intimacy in relationships. Her therapist had explained that many couples go through difficult periods, especially in the early years of marriage. The key was learning how to talk honestly about problems instead of avoiding them or pretending they did not exist. "I have been doing exactly what the therapist said not to do," Kate said with a laugh that sounded more like her old self. "I was so afraid of our problems that I made them worse by keeping secrets and pushing you away." William held Kate tighter and felt hope starting to grow in his chest for the first time in months. Maybe their marriage was not falling apart after all. Maybe they had just lost their way for a while and could find their way back to each other with some help and honest communication. Kate looked up at William with eyes that were clearer than they had been in a long time. "Dr. Peterson wants to meet with both of us together," she said. "She thinks it would be good for us to have some couples counseling sessions to learn better ways of talking to each other and dealing with problems." William nodded eagerly. He was willing to try anything that might help them reconnect and rebuild the closeness they had lost. "Yes," he said. "I want to do whatever it takes to make our marriage work, Kate. I love you, and I want us to be happy together." Kate smiled at him, and it was the first genuine smile he had seen from her in months. "I love you too, William," she said. "I am sorry I kept this secret from you. I'm sorry I made you think something terrible was happening, when really, I was just trying to get better so I could be a good wife to you again." They sat together on the couch talking more openly and honestly than they had in months. Kate told William about her struggles with depression and how it had affected her ability to feel connected to him. William told Kate about his own feelings of loneliness and rejection and how he had started to wonder if their marriage was over as they talked. William realized that both of them had been suffering in silence instead of reaching out to each other. For help, they had been like two people drowning in the same pool, but too proud or too scared to call out for help. Now that the truth was finally out in the open, they could start working together to save their marriage instead of struggling alone. 3 weeks later, William found himself sitting in a comfortable office across from Dr. Peterson with Kate beside him. The therapist was a kind woman in her 50s, with gentle eyes and a warm smile that made William feel more at ease than he had expected. This was their third couples session together, and William was starting to understand why. Kate had felt comfortable opening up to this woman. Dr. Peterson had been teaching them new ways to communicate with each other that were more honest and direct. She explained that many couples fall into patterns of avoiding difficult conversations because they are afraid of conflict. But avoiding problems only makes them grow bigger and more dangerous over time. In their sessions, William and Kate had been learning to express their feelings without blaming each other. Instead of saying "you never listen to me," they were taught to say "I feel unheard" when we have conversations. It was a small change in words, but it made a big difference in how they responded to each other. Kate had also been continuing her individual therapy sessions to work on her depression. She was taking medication now that helped balance her mood, and she was learning coping strategies for when she felt overwhelmed or disconnected. William could see real changes in his wife as she got healthier and stronger. The change William noticed most was that Kate seemed more like herself again. She would laugh at his jokes and initiate conversations about their future together. She started cooking dinner for them again and would ask William about his day at work with genuine interest. The careful politeness between them was slowly being replaced by real warmth and affection. One evening, after they had been in counseling for about a month, Kate suggested they go for a walk in the park where they used to have picnics when they first got married. William was surprised by the suggestion because Kate had not wanted to do anything together outside of their apartment for months. They walked hand in, hand through the park as the sun was setting behind the trees. Kate told William about a conversation she had with Dr. Peterson that day about forgiveness and second chances. The therapist had explained that healing from depression and rebuilding a marriage both required patience and self-compassion. "I have been so hard on myself for being depressed," Kate said as they sat down on their old picnic bench. "I kept thinking I was a failure as a wife because I could not just snap out of it and be happy. But Dr. Peterson helped me understand that depression is an illness, not a character flaw." William squeezed Kate's hand and told her how proud he was of her for getting help and working so hard to feel better. He admitted that he had also learned a lot about himself through their couples counseling. He realized that he had been avoiding difficult conversations just as much as Kate had. "The therapist helped me see that. I was scared to tell you when I felt hurt or lonely," William said. "I thought if I just stayed quiet and did not complain, then everything would work itself out. But that just made both of us feel more isolated and misunderstood." They talked about their plans for the future as they watched other couples and families enjoying the park. Kate mentioned that she was starting to feel ready to think about having children again someday. For months she had felt like she could barely take care of herself, let alone a baby. But as her depression lifted, she was beginning to feel hopeful about expanding their family, William told Kate about some ideas he had for improving their apartment and maybe even saving money for a house down payment. He had been afraid to talk about long-term plans when their marriage felt so unstable. But now that they were working together to solve their problems, he felt excited about their future again. Over the next few months, William and Kate continued to rebuild their relationship. With the help of Dr. Peterson, they learned to check in with each other regularly about how they were feeling instead of assuming everything was fine. They also learned to plan fun activities together instead of just doing separate things in the same apartment. Kate's depression continued to improve with therapy and medication. She still had difficult days, but she knew how to recognize the warning signs and ask for help when she needed it. Most importantly, she no longer felt so ashamed about struggling with mental health issues. William also benefited from the therapy. Even though he had not been the one with depression, he learned that supporting a spouse with mental illness required patience and understanding. He also learned better ways to express his own needs and feelings in their relationship. 1 year after Kate first started therapy, they were sitting in Dr. Peterson's office for what would be their last regular session. The therapist told them how proud she was of the work they had both done to save their marriage and improve their communication. Dr. Peterson explained that Kate and William had learned the most important skills for a healthy marriage. They knew how to talk honestly about problems, how to support each other during difficult times, and how to maintain their individual mental health while also nurturing their relationship. As they walked out of the therapist's office for the last time, Kate and William both felt grateful for everything they had learned. Their marriage was stronger now than it had been even in the beginning, because they had worked through real problems together instead of avoiding them. That evening, they celebrated by cooking dinner together and talking about their dreams for the future. Kate was almost finished with her individual therapy and was feeling more confident and stable than she had in years. William had also grown more emotionally mature and better at expressing his feelings. They still had the same small apartment and the same jobs, but everything felt different now. Instead of walking on eggshells around each other, they could be honest about their feelings. Instead of spending evenings in polite silence, they would talk and laugh together, like they did when they first fell in love. Kate still had her phone and it still buzzed with messages sometimes. But now when it buzzed, it was usually a text from her sister or a friend from work. And when Kate smiled at her phone, William no longer felt suspicious or worried. He knew that the biggest secret between them had been revealed and worked through as they got ready for bed that night. William thought about how close they had come to losing each other. If Kate had not been brave enough to get help for her depression, their marriage might have ended in divorce. But instead, they had found their way back to each other and built something even stronger than what they had before. William and Kate learned that love alone is not always enough to make a marriage work. Sometimes you need professional help, honest communication, and the willingness to do hard work together. But when both people are committed to fighting for their relationship, it is possible to overcome even serious problems and find happiness again.